Hey guys, I am live on my computer, and this is my first time ever doing this on my computer. So let me know if you can't hear me or how things are going. I can't even see. Oh, I see one person's on. So if you can't hear me, let me know, or if there's any issues at all. I've never done this for my video camera on my computer. Usually I do this for my phone, but I'm here and I'm in my house in Toronto, and this is my parents' house. This is where I grew up. We actually moved recently after I graduated from high school. We moved, or university, we moved like 3 or 4 times, so I haven't been in this house for too long. But yeah, this is where I live. This painting is a painting that my grandmother actually painted. So for those of you that have seen my art before, it runs in the family. I'm gonna wait a little bit just for a couple people to join us before I start. I love getting on these live chats and just having conversations with you guys and answering any questions. And today I'm going to talk about goals. A lot of people have been asking about, I want to be in maintenance, or I want to cut, or I want to bulk, and like, how do I know which one I want to be in? How do I set my goals? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how to manage any not so positive habits like stress eating or mindless eating or things like that. I got a couple strategies that I can give you guys. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about my experience being a part of Working Against Gravity for 2.5 years now. 2.5 years, I think. It'll be 3 years since I started in September. So can't believe it's been that long already. And yeah, so I'm going to start talking about when you want to cut, bulk, or maintain. So before I even talk about that, I want to just talk about goal setting in general. So this is probably the biggest mistake I see people make when they start a nutrition program at all, is that they don't really take all things into consideration when setting a goal. So when you're setting a goal, I want you to think about not just what that actual goal is, but what the actions that are required to achieve that goal. So you want to get really lean so that you see your muscles. What does that actually require? So if you want to cut and lose body fat, that's going to require being in some type of a caloric deficit. It might mean that you're going to have to deal with hunger in particular times where you're just not going to have as much food to eat. Might mean that you have to make some types of sacrifices, like you're going to have to cut certain foods out of your diet because it might throw things off and leave you feeling even more hungry. It might mean that you're going to have to focus on eating for volume. Might mean that you have to be a little bit more precise than other times. And just think about different things that you're going to have to deal with when choosing your goal. And these are questions that you can ask your coach. So if you have, all the coaches are equipped to be able to answer questions of, I have the goal of losing 40 pounds. What does that look like for me? Is there a rough timeline that you think that we can get this done in? What am I going to experience when I'm trying to do this? Obviously, my macros are going to go down. Do you have a rough idea of how that's going to happen? These are definitely questions that you can ask your coach. And of course, it's going to be independent to each person's experience. It's also dependent on how compliant you are, how consistent things are, what happens in your life. But you can have a basic understanding of, your macros are probably going to go down. If things start to stabilize, we're going to have to cut them even more. And there's going to be periods of time where we have to focus on quality of food and things like that. Another thing that's important to remember about goals is that there has to be an ebb and flow. So I'm pretty sure that your only goal is not to get abs or to lose 40 pounds or to put on 10 pounds of lean muscle mass. Like, it's likely not your only goal. Most of you want to have balance, you want to have a good lifestyle, you want to spend time with your family, you don't want to miss out on particular events, you want to be able to go on vacation and experience the food and that culture. It's not your only goal to get abs or to make a weight class or to fit in your wedding dress, whatever it is that your goal is. So it's important to understand there's going to be periods of time where you're going to be more precise and super, super accurate. And then there's also going to be periods of time where you can be a little bit more lenient and a little bit more flexible. And that's the beauty of having a coach to help you objectively work through those times. And a lot of times when people are setting a goal, they don't take that into consideration. So you think, I want to get abs and I'm going to be 100% precise, I'm going to be super strict, and I'm going to follow my macros 100%. And then, when life happens, what do then? You just get super stressed that, you might get a lot of anxiety at the fact that you couldn't track 100%, or you might get really frustrated with yourself. You might not be as kind as you can be. So choosing a goal that is very difficult to attain all of the time, just take into consideration that there's going to be an ebb and flow. If you're trying to make the CrossFit Games in November during Thanksgiving, it probably isn't that big of a deal if you have a slice of pie. If you feel guilty from having that slice of pie, and that's going to lead to well, screw it, I've ruined it for the day, that means that I'm just going to let the rest of the day go to crap and I'm going to eat whatever I want, then that is an issue. So just keep in mind that every single goal is ebb and flow, and it's not just singular. It's not just you want to get abs. It's not just I want to cut or maintain or bulk. And I challenge you all to just take a step back and think about the process, not the end goal. The end goal, when you get there, doesn't come with as much amazingness as you think it does. Once you get there, it's kind of like, I got here, like, what do I do now? What the key is, and what really does make you feel amazing and unstoppable, is the process. The goal is kind of something that you're not even 100% in control of. So let's say for the next 6 weeks you want to lose as much body fat as possible. I can't tell you nobody can tell you with 100% precision 6 weeks from now on that day what your body fat is going to, how much body fat you're going to lose. It's just not possible to know. I could give you maybe a rough idea if you're 100% precise, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 weeks. So that actual particular goal is not something that we're in control of. And we want to worry and stress about only the things that we can control. So the things that you can control are your actions. You can control your nutrition. You can focus on what you're going to put in your body. You can be vulnerable and open with your coach. You can control your attitude. You can control how much you're going to sleep, how much you're going to recover. You can control your exercise. But focusing on just the end goal and not the process is going to be a recipe for disaster. And that's something that I've learned from working with, the most amazing athletes on the planet. I work with Katrin Davidsdottir, Lauren Fisher, Rasmus Wanderson, Cara Webb, Tia Claire Toomey, Cole Sager, 5th place at the CrossFit Games, Austis, who is a 3-time Olympian in javelin, Katie Ulander, 2-time Olympian in skeleton. Like, these are the most amazing athletes on the planet, and every single one of them loves the process. They don't think about just that end goal, just winning the CrossFit Games. The reason that Katrin has won the CrossFit Games twice is because she loves the process. And in order to achieve your goals, whatever they are, whether it's cut, maintain, or bulk, it's important for you to fall in love with the process. That every single day you're doing something you love, and you're loving learning about your nutrition and playing around with the macros and seeing what type of meals you can come up with, and how can I feel satisfied, or what do I eat before I train? What do I eat after I train? All of that kind of stuff is what's going to lead you to success, and it's also what's going to make you feel confident and like you have integrity with yourself, and that's what's going to lead you to success. So, it's super glamorous to say, I want to win the CrossFit Games, or I want to make a world team, or I want to lose 15 pounds, but that's just not something we want to focus on. And if that is what you want to focus on, then it's probably not going to lead you to doing the actions that are required to actually achieve that goal. I'm going to give you an example that I've actually given to the staff. It's a model that I did before. Actually, I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe I'll talk about it later. I'll bring it up later. But I'm going to talk now about actually bulking, cutting, maintaining. So when you're bulking, your primary goal is to build muscle while keeping any gains in fat minimal. So you want to put on muscle, putting on as little fat as possible. If you want to cut, you want to lose body fat while maintaining and building upon your muscle mass if possible. So you want to lose as little muscle mass as possible and cut body fat. when you're maintaining, you're generally already at a point where you're pretty happy with your physique. So if you're loving what you're seeing in the mirror, you're feeling confident, you love the way your clothes are fitting on you, you're pretty happy with everything else that's going on, then maintaining is definitely going to be the option for you. So when it comes to bulking and putting on lean muscle mass, it's important to remember that your training and doing some type of resistance training is incredibly important. So if you're not doing some type of resistance training and you want to bulk, you're probably going to primarily put on body fat and you're not going to be putting on lean muscle mass. So you need to be training and doing some type of resistance training if you want to be putting on muscle mass. Nutrition alone is not going to put muscle on for you. So we can help maximize that with your nutrition, but training is definitely something that you need to be doing and moving your body and using the muscles so that you build them. Then before you choose your goal, I want to ask you to ask yourself 3 different levels of why. So why do you want to bulk? I want to put on lean muscle mass. Why do you want to bulk? And now you have to come up with a different reason. I want to be stronger in the gym and lift more weight. Why do you want to bulk? And now come up with a different answer and make sure that you're 100% clear as to why you want to achieve that goal. Just because you want to put on lean muscle mass is not going to be good enough. It's not going to help you keep motivated in those times when life gets hard and things get difficult and you don't have the motivation to do the actions required to achieve the goal. So ask yourself why 3 times, 3 different levels of why, and then you can be sure, this is something I really want to do. And once you've made that decision, you've made that decision. So there's no flip-flopping. You got to be 100% yes or 100% no. And you can utilize your coach to help you make these decisions to make sure that you're doing this the best way possible. So most people in this group at Working Against Gravity that have been a part of this community, most of you want to build muscle and lose body fat at the same time. So what do you start with? Do you cut the body fat first and then build lean muscle mass? Or do you build lean muscle mass and then lose body fat? Like, which one do you do first? That's a common question that we get all the time. And it's important to understand before you decide whether you want to bulk, whether you want to cut, or you want to maintain. If you're asking that question to begin with, it probably means that you have some body fat that you want to get rid of. So if you're saying, do I build muscle mass or do I lose body fat first, then you probably are in a state where you have some body fat on your body that you want to get rid of. So if you're not as lean as you want to be and you have more body fat than you want right now, then that's something to take into consideration. So before you go into a bulk, you want to take into consideration what your current body fat percentage is. So most people don't know their body fat percentage. And if you've done a DEXA scan or some type of measuring tool that gives you an accurate answer for what your body fat is, if you're a male, anywhere between like 10 to 13%. For a female, somewhere around 19, 20%. That is what you would consider relatively lean or somewhat lean. So those are that's a really good starting point to start a bulk. I mean, leaner is great as well, but if you're anywhere over that, then a bulk might not be the best option for you. So when you go into a bulk, there's no way to only gain lean muscle mass, and you're eating in an excess of calories in order to bulk. And that's something you have to do. You have to be in a surplus in order to gain mass, like gain size. So especially when you're a more advanced or intermediate lifter or you have a higher training age. So if you're already over that percentage of body weight or you're carrying a lot of body fat that you want to get rid of, going straight into a bulk is going to do a couple things. One, you're going to gain some body fat from being in a bulk. So if you're starting with a higher body fat percentage, it means that you're going to end up with an even higher body fat percentage. And then what's going to happen from there is that you're going to have to work a lot harder to go through a cut. So you're going to be at a higher body fat percentage for a longer period of time, which might mean that you're uncomfortable or you're not 100% happy with how your body looks. And that's a longer period of time that you're going through that. And then you're also going to have to go through a longer period of time where you're cutting because your body fat percentage is higher than you wanted it to be. So that's something to take into account. You also might lose more muscle mass through that cut at the end. And nobody wants to not look their best or feel super confident for an extended period of time. And starting a bulk when you have fat that you want to lose is probably not the best idea. So it's probably best to start when you're in that frame of body fat percentage or a little bit less, or you're what I would consider relatively lean. Whatever that means to you, it could mean different things to different people. I would definitely utilize your coach in that kind of situation. Ask your coach, hey, do you think that like I'm at a good body fat percentage to start bulking right now? I really want to put on lean muscle mass. These are the reasons why I want to do that. Do you think this is a good start for me, or do you think I should keep cutting for a little bit longer and then put it on? You don't want to end up at a point where it makes things a lot more difficult for you to, cut back down, or, you want to have something to show from that bulk. So you want to go through a bulking phase to put on lean muscle mass and then have more muscles to show when you cut back down. So just something to take into consideration when you're doing that. Definitely use your coach's perspective. They've done this often. They have the resources to be able to make that kind of assessment. So I would definitely lean on them. And you send them progress pictures, so they are able to see what you look like from different angles. They might ask you for photos from different lightings so that they can make sure that they're making the correct assessment for you. And it's another objective person. You're in it and you're feeling the emotions involved with how your body looks and how you want it to look. So your coach is an objective third party that really has no reason to not want the best for you. And all they want is for you to succeed. So definitely lean on your coach. If you're already relatively lean and you're in that body fat percentage frame, I would, you can cut or you can bulk. You can get a little bit leaner before you start to bulk, and it pretty much depends on what point you're at or maybe what time of the year it is. So let's say it's April and the summer's coming up and you're about to spend the entire summer on the beach. You're doing a summer abroad somewhere, or you're volunteering at a pool all summer long, or you're going to be wearing shorts and tank tops, and you don't want to go through a bulk during that period of time. It's not going to make you feel confident and comfortable. Then I would definitely hold off on going through a bulk when you know and mentally can accept that you're going to put on some body fat, and you might not be looking at 100% your leanest and where you feel most comfortable. So we don't want you to feel self-conscious, and we can definitely work through that kind of thing, but it depends where you are. If you have your wedding coming up, I don't know if you would want to start a bulk and then have your dress not fit the way that you want it to fit. So it really depends on where you're at. But if you're already relatively lean, you can go in either direction. You can start bulking or cut and then bulk. Remember that all of that is going to be dependent on your training age as well. So when you're doing a bulk, if you're an experienced lifter, so we'd have a beginner, intermediate, and experienced. A beginner lifter is someone that's making big gains week to week. And we can consider gains like more weight on the bar, or more weight when you're doing different reps of exercises. You're going to be making maybe 5-pound gains every single week. For a beginner, that means that you can probably put on a good amount of size every single month. For an intermediate, maybe you're making smaller gains. So from week to week, or maybe you're only making gains month to month or every couple of weeks. When you're advanced, you're all the way advanced, you've been training for 5 years, let's say, you're probably making gains in terms of weight on the bar maybe every couple of months, or for some people it's even every year. And that's why you'll see a pro bodybuilder from season to season, they're only gaining 1 or 2 pounds. Yeah, so they're only gaining 1 or 2 pounds from 1 year to 1 year. I'm going to mute my notifications. Yeah, from stage to stage, 1 year after another, a professional bodybuilder is only maybe 1 or 2 pounds different. And that's because their training age is super advanced. They've been lifting weight forever. They're probably not making that many PRs in the gym. This is the same for an elite level weightlifter or something like that. So it's important to take that into consideration when going through a bulk and what stage you're at, how long you've been training. And every single person genetically has a maximum capacity for muscle that they can naturally achieve. So you may not be anywhere close to there, but if you are, then the gains that you're going to make are going to be much, much smaller than somebody who's just starting out training, or somebody who's taken a break from training and is getting back into it. So me, I'm a good example. I took a couple months off of training after nationals last year, and me making gains muscularly back in the gym is coming super fast. I'm improving my lifts like 5 to 10 pounds every couple weeks, getting back to where I was. But once I get back to where I was, the gains are going to be significantly smaller, and I'm not going to be able to put on as much muscle mass as a beginner. Just something to take into consideration. So that's how you can make your decision. So to sum it all up neatly, I would wait until you're at a leanness that you're happy with before starting a bulk. So if you're coming here, you're a female, you're over 20% body fat, or you're a male, you're over 13% body fat, I would definitely try and get a little bit leaner before you start bulking. And if you're already relatively lean, then definitely if your primary concern is building lean muscle mass and you're not concerned with putting on a little bit of body fat right now, then start your bulk and let's go for it. I think it's awesome, and I think all the different stages are pretty amazing, and it's really cool to see the way that your body transforms through all the different stages of dieting. And yeah, I can't wait to hear about all of your results and successes. And yeah, so that's what I have about bulking, maintaining, and cutting. If you have any more questions, you can leave them in the comments and I will answer them at the end. But I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is about breaking bad habits. I really love this one. I think the particular post was about stress eating and snacking. So this is something that I've experienced so many times in my life. When I feel like life is not going well and things are stressful and I'm sitting and I'm stressed out about work, or, Seismic isn't working and I have these people that are struggling with it and I'm trying to fix all these problems for everybody, all I want to do is have something in front of me to chew on. It's just like a natural coping mechanism for me. So in order for me to stop my own bad habits, I've had to use a lot of these strategies. So I'm really excited to share them with all of you guys today. First, willpower is not this like unlimited resource. Willpower is based off of the number of decisions you make in a day. So the more decisions you have to make in a day, the lower your willpower is going to be. And it's not this unlimited resource where you have, the ability to make all of these decisions throughout the day and you can keep, you don't have to be super hard on yourself. Willpower runs out. So it's also a skill that you can develop and you can get better at having stronger willpower. So to start, I would pay attention. Well, this week on the Brute Strength podcast, my husband's podcast, Dr. John Berardi was on it, the president of Precision Nutrition, and he talked about a couple skills that I love. And one of them, to start in terms of how to handle some bad eating habits, is to eat slowly. And it sounds super basic and super simple, but it's such a crazy thing to think about. If you eat, the slower you eat, the more you're going to pay attention to what the food actually tastes like. And the example he gave was if you eat M&Ms really, really, really slowly, and you really think about what it tastes like, what it feels like in your mouth, you're not going to want to eat as many if you guzzle them down really fast. And if you do it really fast, you're not actually giving your mind the opportunity to understand what it's eating and what it tastes like, and just paying attention to what you're actually eating. And the more that you pay attention to what you're actually eating, the more likely you are to just eat healthier food items and eat more micronutrient dense foods and stay away from what we consider junk or refined sugar or refined flour, that kind of thing. So eat slower. That is the number one skill that I would like to challenge everybody to do. Paying attention to your eating habits. One of my favorite quotes is, the extent to which you are unconscious of a habit is the extent to which it persists. So for those of you that are asking for how to get rid of some bad eating habits, the fact that you are aware that you have bad eating habits is a win already. You're already on the right path. You are already going to be more successful just because of the fact that you are conscious of that habit. Now, every single time it happens, you're like, oh, I'm doing this again. And naturally, without even trying too hard, you're going to start finding a way to solve that, and it's going to start getting better over time. When you're unconscious of a habit and you're not present and you don't realize what you're doing, that's when you can get into trouble, because you don't even realize that you have these bad habits. So how are you supposed to know that you're supposed to fix them? Something to think about is, when are these bad habits happening? Is it consistent? Are they happening in the same room? Is it always happening in the kitchen? What are you feeling when these bad habits are happening? Is it, some tightness in your chest? Would you consider it anxiety? Are you really sad? Are you really stressed? Are you really angry at somebody? Try and look for any type of consistencies. Is it the same group of people that you're always around? Is it right after, your mom calls you and she stresses you out? Or when your husband calls you and he gives you some bad news? Is it consistent when these habits are happening? If you can find those consistencies from event to event, then it brings another level of awareness over these habits that you can maybe catch it. You know that's about to happen, so you can make sure that you're not in the kitchen. And if you're not in the kitchen and those things are not readily available to you, then it gives you another layer of awareness to try and stop those bad habits from happening. The thing that you want to do is you want to control the things that you can control. Like I was talking about earlier, you can control where you are, you can control the food that you see visibly in front of you, you can control whether you are being aware of your habits or not. You can practice those things. So we want to control what we can, and then the rest of the results will just fall into place. So we want to focus on the process, like what actions can we take to control our bad habits. I'm going to give you some tactical strategies. So the first was to eat slowly. So you're going to pay attention to your food. What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What's the texture like? Another strategy is to eat until you're 80% full. So imagine what 100% full feels like. So 100% full is like, I gotta unbutton the top button of my jeans. I gotta lean back. I'm feeling a little bit sick. That's what 100% feels like. So I want you to dial it back just 20% and eat till 80% full. So if you can eat till 80% full, usually, I'm sure I'm not the only one. Maybe some people aren't like me. But if I get to 100% full, that's when I want something sweet, or I want to overindulge. There's always that little spot right here where a sweet treat can fit, or I can have some ice cream. I used to say food gets piled up in my belly and then ice cream just fills the cracks. And there's always room for ice cream. So when I get to 100% fullness, that's when I'm more likely to overindulge. So trying to mentally think about, getting to 80% fullness and then stopping from there, that's something that's going to really help clean up those bad habits. Speaking of cleaning up, in your room, whatever rooms you're in, try and keep your rooms neat. Something that we don't really think about, it wouldn't necessarily think it's nutrition related, but keeping your rooms neat and clean and organized is actually going to keep things visually less stressful for you. And the higher the clutter is and the higher your stress levels is, the more likely you're going to want to snack and indulge and eat different things to cope. So keep the kitchen neat. Don't have things all over the place. Don't have food all over the place, your plates everywhere. Make sure you can keep your rooms as neat or as tidy as possible. I'm sure people that have kids, especially young kids, it's probably a little bit more difficult, but keeping your bedroom neat or rooms that you can control, keeping them neat is definitely something that can reduce stress. So that can help with some bad habits. Something that you guys can do as well is the tempting foods, things that are tempting for you, whether that's cookies or M&Ms or chips or whatever it is, make those difficult to find or hard to reach. It really is out of sight, out of mind. If the foods that are readily available to you are fruit in fruit bowls, or maybe some nuts that you have to actually peel or crack in order to get to, or things that are individually packaged, fruits, vegetables, nuts, things that are micronutrient dense that you're not necessarily going to want to overindulge in, that make those the foods that are readily available to you in the kitchen and on your counters, and that's going to also help you with those bad eating habits. Let's look at my notes. Something else that's maybe not nutrition related to keep into consideration is what content are you consuming? So a lot of people might be scrolling through Pinterest or scrolling through Instagram and you're looking at food porn, like #food porn, or you're watching the Food Network, or you're watching MasterChef, or what's the one with a mystery box where you have a certain number of mystery food items and they have to make a meal out of it. you know, you're watching these like delicious foods. If that's the content that you're consuming, you're fantasizing about these delicious foods, and it's going to make you more likely to want to eat snacks, or, you know, it's going to make you think about food, and it's going to make you, the things that you fantasize about are more likely to become a reality, or you're more likely to act upon them. So things like don't scroll through, yeah, chops, that's it. Thank you, Eva or Ava. So if you're watching a lot of food channels, or you're watching TV and you're in the kitchen, I know that right now my kitchen is right there and my TV is right there. So if I'm watching Food Network and I'm thinking about food, it's just going to make me more likely to want to walk over to the fridge and grab something to eat. So that's one thing. Also, another thing is there was a study that I read from school this week. I'm in a program right now, and there's a study that I read that talked about if you can hear yourself chewing while you're eating. So if you're watching TV and the volume's really loud and you can't hear yourself chewing, but you're just like mindlessly eating, you're actually more likely to eat more. So if you're eating while you're watching TV, you're more likely to eat more food than if you were eating in a quiet room. Something to take into account. I thought it was interesting. Another thing that can help you with your bad habits would be changing the size of your plate. I know we've all heard this before, but literally eating on a smaller plate, or eating out of a smaller bowl, drinking out of a smaller glass, things like that. So something to do as well. Also, if you have a huge bag of M&Ms, or a bag of cereal, or, you know, a huge box of oatmeal, instead of having like individual packs, before you put it into the cupboard or you put it on the counter, you know, having I know some people have like really cute jars on their tables and it's full of cookies, or it's full of candy, or it's full of whatever, and it's on your counter. Having it in an opaque and like something that's not see-through so you can't see what's inside it, or taking it and putting it into serving sizes already. Take little Ziploc bags and put one serving. Now if you want to overindulge, you're going to have to open like 4 bags or 5 bags in order to eat extra. So that's more work, or another barrier for you to overeat, or to, you're going to have to think about it before you open up another little package. So it's not as easy as, you know, a huge bag of M&Ms, just having another scoop, or a box of cereal, just, you know, grabbing another handful, or eating more. So it's just not as easy. So you want to already have it in serving sizes. If that's something that you can do, it's definitely going to help you with those types of eating habits. Something that we say over and over and over again: if you plan your food ahead, if you already know what you're supposed to eat for the day. I am not a planner. I don't plan my food ahead. It's just not my style. But if it's something that you really, really struggle with, planning your food ahead, you already know what you're going to eat. That's going to help stop you from overindulging, because now you're going to have to make some changes and you're going to have to make an adjustment. And it's just another barrier and another point where you have to make a choice of, am I going to do this, or am I going to stay, you know, motivated? In terms of motivation, which is my next step, when you're feeling like you're about to overindulge, or you're about to participate in one of these bad habits like stress eating or snacking, take a second and write down 3 motivational factors. You know, 3 reasons that are motivated to keep you on track. 3 reasons why you're even doing this. Like, why are we following a nutrition program? Like, what is our motivating factor? We want to have a better relationship with food. I want to help get rid of these bad eating habits. I want to perform better in the gym. Write those 3 things down, or literally say them out loud, and it's going to, you know, give you some fire, light a fire inside and keep you motivated. The last thing is to get a hobby. Get a hobby. Participate in something that takes up your free time, so you're not sitting on the couch and you're not watching TV, or just in an opportunity where you can just eat mindlessly. You know, go take I just started taking ceramics classes. I participate in this, if anyone's heard of terrariums or ariums, this lady that lives near me, she makes these beautiful home installations. So I go and take some classes there, take a dance class. Participating in exercise is also going to help you combat these bad habits. So that's a ton of tactical strategies. This is going to be saved on the Facebook wall, so you can go through the strategies after, write them all down, Go through them one by one and keep that list if you need some ideas to look back at for how you can deal with your bad eating habits. And we all have them. So don't feel bad if you find yourself snacking or you find yourself, mindlessly eating or stress eating. Everyone goes through it, and you're definitely not alone. And this is definitely a group of people that can help you get through that. And I hope that I gave you some strategies to help you get through that. Next on the list is how this community has impacted me. This is a good question. I've never been asked this question before. I've been on like dozens of podcasts, but I've never really been asked this question of how this community has impacted me over the past 2.5 years. And I was thinking about it all day today, how I'm going to answer this question. And I'm seeing the comments. Yeah, awesome. So what has changed? The community of Working Against Gravity, you guys are all like the coolest people I've ever met. You are so positive. You are so goal-oriented. You're so motivated. You're achieving things that I've never achieved. You're tackling your goals with this fire that I've never seen before. And I find that it keeps me accountable. I hear all the time that people do as you do, they don't do as you say. So I feel motivated to be an example. I want to lead by example. I want to constantly be working on being better. I want to constantly be in control of my own nutrition, having a better relationship with food. I want to be a better person so that I can be an example and show you guys that it's totally possible. But how you've affected me is beyond what I think that I'm ever going to be able to repay you with. And I think I'm always going to be in debt to this community just because of that. You are so inspiring. It's hard to really put it into words. From the people that I've worked with one-on-one, I learn nutrition strategies from. One, for example, that I learned recently was I went to the competitors training camp, and I was hanging out with Katrin and Brooke, and they were traveling from home, and both of them pull out of their suitcase Tupperware. And I was like, not just one Tupperware, they had 3 Tupperwares each. They had 2 small Tupperwares and 1 big Tupperware. And I was like, wait, you bring your own Tupperware to when you travel? I had never thought of that before. Like, how have I never thought of that before? And now I bring Tupperware with me everywhere, just an empty Tupperware. Whenever I land, I've always gone straight to the grocery store when I land for travel to make sure that I have food. It's a #1 priority for me. I always want to make sure that I'm prepared when I'm traveling, but I'd never thought of bringing Tupperware. So now I bring my own Tupperware, so I'm never in a situation where I can't bring food with me wherever I'm going. That's huge. I've learned that when days are really hard, that you guys are doing it. I go in the Facebook group and I scroll there and I'm like, life is hard for everybody, and we're all stressed and we're all super busy, and we can all do this together. So this entire community has made me significantly more passionate about nutrition. It's made me find serious purpose in my life. And there's been moments, I know people closest to me know this, like I know Yvette's watching right now, there's been moments where I'm like, man, this is really hard. Like, I didn't know that this was going to be as hard as it's going to be. And then a client reaches out to me and says, Working Against Gravity saved my marriage. And how do you respond to that? Like, how can I not be motivated and passionate about this community when you're doing things like that? You're taking your marriage into your own control, and something like getting into control of your nutrition is affecting your life in that capacity. It's given me significant purpose. I feel grateful every single day, and it makes me want to work really, really hard. It makes me want to be a positive influence and grow and learn and be the best that I can be. And I've seen from you guys that it's 100% possible in every single person. There's not a single person that I've ever been like, you're a lost cause. Every single person has exceeded my expectations. Where you start and where you end up has been mind-blowing. Like, sometimes I see these transformations in the way that you've been able to affect your life, and I have learned that every single person is capable of growth in every single aspect of your life. You're capable of growing with your relationship with food. You're capable of taking control of your nutrition. You're capable of losing weight, gaining weight, hitting PRs in the gym, being a mother of 3 and tracking your macros and making food for everybody while also working 2 jobs, you know? I don't know if she's still in this group, but Vanessa Rodriguez, she was somebody who incredibly inspired me. She was never complained. She has kids of her own. She was working, and she was setting an amazing example. And it was just something that has forever affected my life. I see now that growth is possible no matter who you are and no matter where you start. And where you start is no indication of where you're going to end up. Your past history is no indication of how successful you can be. You can't tell me that because I failed X amount of times in my life, I'm not going to be able to be successful in the future. You can't tell me that because I've succeeded so many times in my life, I'm still going to be successful in the future. This group has totally changed my mindset in terms of what success is and what is possible. So, yeah, I love all of you, and I'm so grateful for meeting every single one of you, and you've forever affected my life, and I hope that I can repay you in the ways that you've all done that for me. That is all I have. So I'm going to read, there's a couple questions there, but I'm going to let you guys know if you have any more questions for me. I will be here to answer any of them. I'm going to answer the couple questions that I have there in the comments right now. I think there is a delay, so I will wait a little bit, but this is your chance to ask me any questions you want. I'm grateful for you all, and I love you. And I see that there's a couple questions. Do I do things differently during the open? So, Helen, thank you. This is actually my first open in a while. I did the open I think I did the open 2 years ago when I was I joined a grid team that year. But do I do things different? I think the open is 1 workout a week. I'll definitely, I'm going to be a little bit more tired that week. If I'm in a cut and performance in the open is super serious for me, you know, if your season is the open and you don't know for certain that you're going to be making it to regionals, if you were in a cut, then I definitely wouldn't remain in that severe of a deficit during the open. I would tell your coach, you know, the open, my performance in the open is super important to me. It's 5 weeks, and I'm not sure that I'm going to make it to regionals, but, you know, I'm on the cusp, and I want to make sure that my performance is 100% top notch. For some people, the open is your season, and that's awesome. And you want to do as amazing in the open as possible. If I'm on a cut, I definitely will bring it up. So I don't want to be in a deficit during the open. I want to make sure that I have everything that I need to perform my best in those workouts. And then I would just do the same. Make sure that I'm doing my meditation, make sure that I'm not eating things I've never eaten before. I made this one mistake once, is at a weightlifting meet, but I tried a pre-workout that I had never tried before on meet day, and it's a huge rookie mistake. Like eating something that you've never eaten before, especially a stimulant. I ended up bombing out in the clean and jerk. It's 75% in the back in the warm-up room. I started losing my consciousness when I stood up, and it was really bad. Don't do anything different. Try and keep things as similar as possible. The workouts are pretty good, and yeah, so I definitely don't do anything too much different, but if you're in a cut right now and you're trying to lose weight, I would definitely maybe put that on pause for the 5 weeks of the open. Eleanor, what Tupperware sizes are best for traveling, easiest to pack? So what I do and what they did is like a Tupperware. There's one that's like, you know those Tupperwares that are deep, but they're not like, they're rectangular, but they're super deep. That was one, and then they had 2 smaller Tupperwares that could fit inside that. So it's like a rectangle, and there's 2 smaller Tupperwares that can fit inside. One of them was actually traveling without the lids, so they would put the clothes, some of their, like maybe they put all their underwear, all their socks inside the Tupperware so that it was, like space efficient that way. Or you could put the 2 Tupperwares inside. But something around the size, you know, it depends on what you eat. So if you like to bring salad dressing with you when you go places, so definitely bring a small one for salad dressings. I bring a small one for like fruits. So for strawberries, berries, blackberries, blueberries, and raspberries, I'll make a little fruit salad and I'll put it in a small Tupperware. But I really like for I usually, when I'm traveling, I'll get those like pre-made rice, like, you know, those Uncle Ben's, like you just put it for a minute and a half or 2 minutes in the microwave. I'll get those along with like a cabbage slaw / kale mix in those bags, like a bagged salad, and then some vegetables that don't necessarily need a fridge. So it's like a hotel hack. Like you don't necessarily need a fridge in order to have cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers. You don't need a fridge until it's cut open. So I'll cut those vegetables, mix it all up, and I get a rotisserie chicken. And I take the rotisserie chicken as soon as I get it in the hotel room, and I'll take the skin off, and I'll take all the meat, and I'll put it in one of the Tupperwares, all the meat. And then I'll use that meat and put it in the big Tupperware, and I have this like huge salad. I can usually use that for 2 meals. But a deep Tupperware that I can fill really big, so I can have a lot of volume, and then 2 smaller Tupperwares maybe for like a snack, like nuts or fruit, something like that. And then if you like dressing, then some small little dressing Tupperware. Love you, Bryce. I thank you for watching. Helen, thank you. Brittany, actually, I asked her for some feedback on WAG, and she actually gave me some really good ideas. I know a lot of people have been asking lately about a WAG retreat, and I think this is actually a really amazing idea, and it's something I definitely want to figure out how to do, but just keep in mind this is like a huge project. So I definitely want to do that. I think we can get some really awesome speakers. Maybe we can get my husband Michael to come out with the Brute Strength crew, and they can put us through some workouts, or we can do some like stand-up paddleboarding on a beach somewhere. We can all go to a restaurant and make sure they have the macros available. Maybe we'll get a restaurant to like make us some type of special menu where all the macros are available, and everyone there is going to be tracking their macros, so there's no reason to like not bring your food scales. And I think it would be amazing, and I would love to see you all at some type of WAG retreat. So it's definitely something that we can make happen in the future. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but it will definitely happen, and it won't, you will all be invited, I promise. And those of you who know us, if I say I want to get something done, I'm probably going to get something done for you guys. I would probably do anything for you guys. Yvette, when bulking, what are your recommendations to mentally negotiate the scale going up? So when bulking, I think for the mental aspects of the scale going up, I think that's definitely going to be individual to the person. So I'm going to use myself as an example and some people that I've specifically worked with. So I'm not going to use the name, but there's a significant CrossFit athlete who's part of our program, and she is very lean, and she's very attached to her physical body, and her identity is very much connected to how lean she is and what she looks like. However, in order to maintain that frame, she has to be eating not enough calories to sustain her training. So because she had experienced, being in a deficit for a really long time, and then now going into a little bit of bulking to make sure you're eating enough and gaining 1 or 2 pounds, the number on the scale is something that is really, really hard to deal with. And I think the first thing that needs to be said is that's okay. I'm 26 years old. I have 26 years of baggage with the number on the scale. That doesn't mean that I'm now going to start bulking and now all of a sudden I'm supposed to be okay with being a little bit heavier. I am a prime example. I spent 4.5 years, 5 years of my life being a 63 kilo lifter. I was known as like the girl with the abs, and now I'm 68 kilos. I don't have like the most ripped abs in the world. I'm very fortunate that I have a husband that loves me regardless and praises me for my womanly curves and loves my body and helps me love my body. But it's hard, seeing that number be higher on the scale, a number that I'm not used to. It's not something that I'm going to allow myself to berate myself for being upset. I know it's silly. I know it's silly to be upset about the number on the scale, and that's okay. And so I think the first thing is to just like allow yourself to feel that anxiety and know that it will pass and becoming aware of it. And the most important thing is to tell somebody. Don't just feel shame about, I shouldn't be upset with the scale. I know I'm supposed to be bulking. I want to be gaining weight. And letting yourself feel that anxiety by yourself and not talking about it is only going to make that shame and anxiety grow. Tell somebody about it. Somebody that you trust, somebody that's not going to just turn to you and be like, you shouldn't be upset. It's not that big of a deal. If that's somebody that you're going to, then you're just going to retreat. Give that information to somebody that's going to keep it sacred. You know, it's a hard thing to deal with. The number going up on the scale is really difficult. Give that information and say it out loud to somebody that is going to say, you know, that really is really hard. And I totally get what you're going through. And, you know, we can talk about it, and we can talk about why the number on the scale doesn't mean as much as we want it to believe. And maybe there's other things that we can be excited about. But it's going to be a process, and it's going to be continuously talking about it, finding other things to be excited about, being motivated about different things, finding parts of your body that you love. But it's the same thing like weight loss. Like, you spent X amount of years getting to where you were that you wanted to change. It doesn't take 8 weeks, 10 weeks to get over that. You don't just like lose weight and all of a sudden all the baggage that you had from being overweight is gone. It doesn't really work like that. It's a practice, and it takes a lot of compassion and kindness and understanding that it's okay. Like, you are allowed to acknowledge those feelings and be okay with it. And that doesn't mean that you have to let it build nests in your hair, you know? It's like birds passing by. You want to just acknowledge that the bird is there, let it pass, instead of letting it build a nest in your hair and make a mess. Nobody wants nests in their hair. Trust me. And the number on the scale is one marker of progress, but I don't want to just say the same thing over and over again, because it's not like that for everybody. Some people, it's not that easy, especially for someone that, you know, their identity is super connected to how their body looks. So if something's going wrong in your life, you're like, oh, well, this used to be that one thing that I could, you know, always hold on to. Like, my body always looked a certain way, and I was always super lean. Now I don't even have that security. So that's really hard to deal with. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy answer, and it's going to take lots of conversations and lots of kindness and compassion with yourself, regardless of who you are or where you started. So just know that it's going to change, and you can get through it. And talking about it and talking about it with someone you trust and love is going to make those moments of anxiety be far and few between. So that would be my answer. Working mothers who track are my heroes. Me too. Seriously. I can't even imagine. I know that mothers out there, the love that you feel for your children is just like you would do anything for them. So for you taking the control of your own nutrition and putting yourself first for a little bit, although I know you know logically that that's how you're going to set the best example for your children and show them that they got to take care of themselves too. I know how difficult it is, and I've heard how difficult it is. I don't understand that personally, and I will one day. But you're actually my heroes. I think it's incredibly inspiring what all of you do. Gwen, my gym buddies are trying to talk me into doing Olympic weightlifting meet. I currently train more for CrossFit. Any thoughts on how this switch could affect nutrition or mindset? I think between CrossFit and weightlifting, the only difference is if you're going to be trying to make a specific weight class, or if you're going to just do the meet based on the weight that you're at right now. It wouldn't be that big of a mental shift or a nutrition shift in terms of going from CrossFit to weightlifting if you're just going to go at whatever weight that you're at. If you're trying to cut weight for that meet, it might take a little bit of a mental shift and a nutrition shift. So you would have to be in a deficit. Maybe you'll have to cut carbs closer to the meet or be a little bit dehydrated. There's so many different strategies for cutting weight for a weightlifting meet. I can do an entire live cast on that. Probably 2 or 3 live casts on that. So if you're just going to be whatever weight that you're at, definitely your nutrition should just stay the same and just go in and feeling awesome. The mental shift from CrossFit to weightlifting is definitely a little bit different. So you're not with like a bunch of people doing the same workout, and it's not like 3 rounds of 45 reps per round. It's 3 reps, literally just 3 reps. It's 3 opportunities. So going out there and, you know, trying to hit a lifetime PR on a stage in a snatch where the margin of error is, you know, really small, it's tough for sure. And some people can handle that and are thrive in that kind of environment. And someone like me will clam up and all of a sudden the weight's super light and it ends up flying behind me. But I would definitely practice and do some training sessions in your singlet, exactly what you're going to be wearing, eat exactly what you're going to eat that day and practice the weights that you're going to lift that day. But it is a great way to challenge yourself. It's invigorating, thrilling, and something that I know that, like, I know Gwen, we know each other, so we trained at CrossFit Guelph together, so I know that you would love, and I think we competed in my first ever CrossFit competition together. I think I remember you were like that badass who, like, we had to clean something, a percentage of our body weight, and I remember being like, who is that chick who's just like cleaning so much weight? I remember. I think that you would really love doing a weightlifting meet, so I hope that you do. I think everyone should try it. It's just such a great way to challenge yourself. Danielle, I'm curious as to what really defines maintenance. Almost 14 weeks in, and I don't think Ashley and I have defined that. Not complaining, I love her, she's the bomb, but I'm just curious how y'all decide that. So what would be maintenance? If you're satisfied with the way your physique looks, you think that you have your dream body, you're like really loving how you look and how you feel, that would be the body that you want to maintain. So maintenance for me would be getting to a point that is like sustainable for you long term. Nutrition is always going to change based on what's going on in your life. You know, if your goals change, if you're going on vacation, or, you know, certain things are changing. Sometimes your hormones change, your exercise and your activity levels change. But maintenance is when you get to a physique that you're satisfied with and you're eating the amount that you want to, that is satisfying to you. So you're maintaining that body weight and you're happy with the amount of food that you're eating. I would consider that maintenance. That's what I think. And it's where it's a weight that your body stays at well. So it's not like, for me, 63 kilos was more difficult for me to maintain with this level of muscle mass. So that isn't necessarily a maintenance weight for me. So something like 66 kilos, 7 kilos is more of a maintenance weight for me, where my body feels more comfortable. At 5'6" and a half, have pretty significant muscle mass. So that is what I would consider maintenance, where your body feels comfortable, where you're able to eat a good amount of food, where you're feeling satisfied, and you're really happy with the way you look. And that's different for everybody. Some people like a softer frame. I'm working with a lady right now who actually wants to put on body fat. And that is so cool. She loves the curvier body, like the womanly curves and softer shape. I love it. So, I mean, it's totally different. I don't think there is one definition, but if I had to define it, it would be where you feel comfortable with yourself aesthetically, you love your body, and you don't want to change anything about it necessarily, and you're eating a good amount of food to keep you full, satiated, that kind of thing. Danielle, mental blocks with 1 rep maxes, 3, 5, and 8 reps are going up, and I just stop at the same max for 3 years now. That is something that I think a lot of people deal with. It's kind of like a fear thing. It's something that takes time and practice. I would definitely talk to somebody who's looking at your lifting. The technique at a 3, 5, and 8 rep max might be different than at a 1 rep max. So if you have issues with your technique, I'm not sure what movements you're talking about, but when you have little inefficiencies in your technique at a 3, 5, and 8 rep max, they're not going to be the same or exacerbated the same way at a 1 rep max. So 1 rep max, your issues are going to become larger. They're going to be much more visible. The weight is going to pull you out of position at a 1 rep max versus a 3 rep max. So also women are generally able to work at a higher percentage for more reps than a man, just due to like different levels of testosterone. And so I would definitely talk to the coach that's actually visibly looking at your lifts, talk to them about the training program, and based on how the 1 rep max attempt is looking, they'll be able to give you a better idea. It might not be mental. Maybe it's just technique, and that could be okay. Lori, I have 3 kids, full-time teacher, part-time real estate agent, and I track while working out 5 days a week. I'm tired. I have trouble eating enough. I tend to just go to bed, and then I get discouraged. If you are not eating enough, so I would definitely try and see if you can find the time to do some meal prep. I know that it's like you have no time, and I would try and maybe find a time where nobody else is awake. So I've seen a lot of success with working mothers that take the opportunity to wake up earlier. And I know that sounds awful, but for a lot of people, it can be therapeutic or peaceful. You know, you wake up a little bit earlier than everybody else, whether that's 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. And there are some food items that you can get that are going to be easier for you to prep quicker. And if you wake up 20 minutes before every single person in the house is awake, it's like your own time. It's quiet. Nobody's awake. It's your opportunity to just focus on yourself, and nobody needs you in that particular moment. I would definitely do that. And any other suggestions for how you track? How to track? I would try and eat foods that are a little bit more dense in macros, so things that have more calories in them for a smaller amount of food, just so you can make sure that you're getting in the food. I would normally say eat only higher volume, but if you're having a hard time even making the food, then that is a good option. There are also a bunch of meal prep companies out there. I'm not sure if that's an option for you, but there are definitely meal prep options out there that can send you the ingredients in bulk. So you can get a bulk order of chicken, or you can get a bulk order of vegetables already pre-chopped. You can get that stuff from the grocery store as well. If there's anybody out there a friend of yours that can help you, if you can rely on an ally, maybe ask a friend to help you with getting some grocery shopping, to bring your kids with you, or to watch the kids while you get some grocery shopping. And I would have to know a little bit more of specifically what the obstacles are in order to help, but I hope that those suggestions are a good start. I know that none of them are going to be easy answers. It's all going to be like, well, I'm tired and I don't have enough time, and there's not enough time in the day, and I have 3 kids and 2 jobs, and I totally feel for you, and it's super hard. And all I can say is that you're totally worth it, and it will feel amazing when you can figure it out. And it might be really harder than most people to try and find a way that works for you, but you're definitely worth it, and you're worth not giving up and working on it. So I hope that some of those suggestions definitely help, and if not, then let me know, and I can help you, and your coach can definitely help you strategize some other ways as well. My mom. Mom, you can definitely come to the retreat for sure. What else? I'm going to answer 2 more questions, and then I'm going to stop because it's been an hour and 2 minutes. So, Isabel, why is so much water important? I've heard a couple rules of thumb: a gallon a day, half your body weight. My current goal is set to 150 to 170 ounce a day. Currently weighing 192. I find myself having to go to the bathroom so often. Your body will adapt for sure. If you're finding it really, really, really difficult, definitely bring it down to a point where it's something maintainable for you. Water is important for so many different reasons. It's amazing for your skin. It's amazing for your digestion. It's amazing for when you're working out, to replenish, to help with weight loss. It can help you sleep better. It can help you have more energy. It can also help with the transfer of vitamins and nutrients in your body. It's something that you definitely want to have as a priority, but it sounds like you're doing a really good job, and your body will adjust. So it usually, when you're drinking excess of water, that's when you start going to the bathroom super often, and your body adjusts. It's a pretty magical machine that will adapt to the amount of water that you're taking, and it will utilize what it needs. But if you're finding that it's actually affecting your life and you're going too often, cut it back a little bit to where you're getting enough water and you're feeling like it's not impeding your progress in the other factors, and then it's also not affecting your quality of life. So there's going to be a give and take. If having 170 ounces of water is making you go to the bathroom every 5 minutes and that's affecting your actual quality of life, then definitely consider dialing it back. Cheers, Isabel. What else? I think we have one more question, and then everything else. Oh, is it Lori? Lori, was that the Lori? You will make the time. I'm so happy that you say that. I just get scared sometimes that if I give a suggestion that's going to take a little bit extra time, that, I know the reaction of, I don't have the extra time, but I am totally think you're a rock star for trying to prove me wrong and being like, I will make the time. I love that. So let me know, Lori, definitely let me know what worked for you. And I'm so excited to hear about how you make the time to prioritize yourself and reach your goals. I really, really want to hear. So kudos to you. That's awesome. Stephanie, what are your thoughts on whey protein with Vitargo? Should I actually eat the food or supplementing it? So great question, Stephanie. So whey protein is super easy to digest for majority of people. It's also a complete protein source. It's a really great option. This totally depends. So Vitargo is also really great. It's a high glycemic carbohydrate supplement. So having them together is actually really great, especially post-workout. So I would say that they're really good. Supplementing is great. What I would say is taking too many supplements or using too much protein or too much Vitargo and it's leaving you hungry. If you're complaining of hunger, then that's when I would maybe change it up a little bit. Don't have too much supplements that's taking away from your food. So if you're complaining to me of hunger, but you're having 3 protein shakes a day with whey protein and Vitargo, then that's when I'm going to be like, supplementing is not okay. But whey protein is an amazing source of protein, and Vitargo, I've never used Vitargo myself, but I actually think it's really great. So you're saying you sometimes feel hungry. So on the days that you're feeling hungry, maybe you're waking up a little earlier, your days are a little longer, they're going to be a little less stressful or a little more stressful. Don't supplement on those days. Instead, have some actual real food, and that's going to be better for you. And food is definitely going to be more satiating than drinking your calories. If you're in a surplus and you're trying to gain, it's not as much of a concern. But if you're in a cut, I would definitely focus on eating real food instead of supplements. But in terms of is the supplementation good or bad? It really just depends on who you are, and I think supplements are great for what they're good for and not great for certain situations. So I think in your situation it might be worth trying, so just testing eating food instead of using those supplements. Yes, and that is it. Well, thanks so much for listening to me for an hour. And I love you guys, and I hope you learned a lot. And I will be back here one day and talking about all that other stuff that you guys asked me about. So thanks for watching.